Hedge Nordic, your single access point to the Nordic hedge fund industry.
In this interview, Eugene from Hedge Nordic talks with Ernst from United Bankers about his high-conviction strategy focused on finding superstar companies benefiting from network effects. Enjoy. Ernst, how do you describe the investment strategy that you have employed successfully for many years and that sits at the core of UB Thales Argo?
The easiest way to communicate it is that it's a high conviction strategy, a high conviction long only strategy based upon the let's say conscious attempt to identify and exploit what Jack Treynor calls SlowTravelling ideas, which is, as you know, let's say non-obvious investment ideas.
What is one slow traveling idea that is reflected in the portfolio at the moment?
Well, one slow traveling idea that we have discussed several times before is one of my favorite themes are so-called network effects, or to use the formal term, demand-side economies of scale, which in a nutshell describe a situation where a product or a service becomes more valuable. The utility of the product or service increases when the number of users increases. The winner-take-all phenomena is also, you could say, one of the cornerstones of my philosophy. The demand-side economies of scale, or in other words, network effects, they are one very important contributor to the winner-take-all phenomena. One could argue that if I had to pick one, let's say, contributing factor, if I was forced to pick the most important, my pick would be the network effects. That's not to say that there are not other, let's say, phenomena as well, but I think it is probably the most important single one. And the reason is that the network effects in itself is probably the most powerful driver towards what you call natural monopolies, and which is a state where one firm can provide the whole output for a single market.
And I also know that you maintain a highly concentrated portfolio. How many names do you have in the portfolio at the moment? And what is the rationale behind your high concentration?
Currently, my portfolio holds 17 positions, but this is an unusually high number because, as you know, my target number of position is, let's say, between 10 and 15. For a long time, I held 12 positions, and let's say my intention is to gradually decrease the number of positions to this, let's say, ideal number, which for me is around 12. And the reason why I keep such a concentrated portfolio is that although diversification is one of the most important aspects of investing, if not the most important, many people miss the fact that when it comes to diversification, more is not necessarily better. There is an optimal level, and one should strive for the optimal level and not the maximum level. And when it comes to diversification, as in many other phenomena in life and economics, diversification also very much suffers from what you could say the law of diminishing marginal returns. That the benefits of diversifications are highest in the very beginning. If you have a portfolio of just one security, it's very volatile. As soon as you increase the diversification from 1 to 2, volatility decreases dramatically. But for every additional position, the marginal decrease in volatility gets smaller and smaller. From 15 or 16 positions onwards, the marginal utility of increased diversifications are very, very small. And after 20 positions, it's almost non-existent. Although diversification has tremendous benefits, it has also costs. And very often these costs are not discussed at all. And there are many costs, but the most important ones are let's say that starting from the fact that there are a limited number of truly interesting investment ideas out there, meaning that it's very naive to assume that you can find hundreds of genuinely interesting ideas, especially if you try to keep, as you should, within your circle of competence.
For those who don't yet know you and the fund that you manage now under United Bankers, how do you describe UB Thales Argo in a nutshell?
It's an attempt to identify companies that have a let's say a reasonable probability of achieving what you could call superstar status, or companies that have achieved superstar status that have a reasonable probability of maintaining their superstar status longer than the market, I would say, expects or discounts.
Hedge Nordic, your single access point to the Nordic hedge fund industry.